Cool. All right, Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rechak Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And we're back at it once again, live church. And we have the Zaquan joining us today. And so, Lord willing, we're going to get right into it. As you can see in the title, we can see the end. And, looking at the things that are happening now in the way that they're happening, we know we can see the end because we know the signs of the end, right, that the Lord gave us concerning what would happen in these last days. And so seeing these things happening, like brothers always say, it's kind of like watching a movie, right, that you know the script to, right? And so when you when you read the script doesn't actually have buildings, right? The script itself doesn't have people you can actually see, right? It has words on the paper and you imagine it with your mind, but you know the things that are to take place. So when you read a part in the script that says, the main character, I don't know, walks into a building and then the building explodes, but the character survives. Like in the movie, when you actually see these things, they look different, right? What kind of car the main character drove to get there, how tall was the actual building, how many floors were in there, the scenes where the people planted the bombs. Like you get to see all of those, but you already know ahead of time this is what's going to happen. So when he walks into the building, you already know what's about to happen in the building. But now you get to see what it actually looks like, which gives you a completely different feel, to an extent. But you're still calm because according to the script you read, he survives that, right? So that's sort of where we're at now, seeing these things that are happening, right, in Minnesota, right, in Minneapolis, and really all around the states and around the world, because these are all signs that the Lord gave us to look out for before his return. So seeing these things is a joyous thing, as the scriptures tell us in Isaiah 33:16 or 33:6, that wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, right? And so by seeing these things happening with the wisdom, with the knowledge, first and foremost, that the Lord has blessed us with, and the ability to apply that in the form of divine wisdom, we know that we're good, right? It tells you that in Isaiah 26 as well, that will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. And when you look at people in the world and you look at those of us in the truth, we see the same things happening, right? You even have truthers, so-called truthers, that will do videos like Pedro V and Jason A and different people that'll show you the horrors of what's happening in the world. But the difference is in their mindset and their reaction, right? When you get to the end of the video, when they start telling you what to do, that's when you see how we diverge. There's a fork in the road, because they're seeing these things, but they're in their minds, they're not at peace. Okay, in their minds, they don't know what to do about it. Our minds are stayed upon the Lord, therefore we have peace. So we don't lose our minds when these things happen. If anything, we're joyous when we see these things happening, right? And that's because our minds are stayed upon Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai. But for the people in the world that don't have an avenue, they don't have a way to make it out of this. Really, a lot of them are clueless. they're gonna end up suffering these things, and they fear that. But yeah, just wanted to open up with that. You brothers got it.
Hey, shalom, shalom. I'll start off with this in the book of Second Ezra, the 8th chapter, right? Because as you got the title, we can see the end, right? And and the end, as the scripture says, is speaking, right? And we really don't really need to speak, right? Somebody want to tell us to shut the f up. Well, soon enough, we gonna shut the f up. And the thing about that is, when that happens, then you gonna be crying out, right? Because as the Lord said, right, He cried and no man regarded. So when you tell the prophets to shut the f up, it's really you telling the Lord that. And yeah, we can sound like, oh, you always say that, but me and a brother was speaking yesterday, that really is the Lord's long suffering. And people disregard how patient and how long suffering the Lord really is until he's no longer long suffering, until he's no longer patient. Okay, and when the Lord stops speaking, actions, you start speaking. You want to start crying out unto the Father. You're going to start looking for mercy. You're going to want to have an audience with the Lord. You're going to want the prophets to tell you, what to do and what to say. But as the Lord said, He's going to make our mouths cleave unto the roof of our tongues, and we're no longer going to be a reprover unto you, because at that point there's nothing to reprove. Only thing else that is left is for the wrath of the Lord to fall upon you. But hey, um because brothers always, we've said it, plenty of times. Other elders, apostles said it. There isn't really much else left to say. But all the prophecies have been broken down, right? All of the edification, you got the name of the Lord, and this is why you're seeing all of these things happening in the world. This is why you're seeing such a rapid buildup of various different prophecies, actions, right? um Yesterday, like I said, I was speaking to a brother, and we were speaking about how, there's so many different, how do I say, there's so many different things happening to where calamities, you can't avoid it, and it's likened unto Amos. What is that? The fifth chapter, where it says that you try to run from a bear and a lion meet you, right? Because if you want to avoid, let's say you want to avoid the wars, right? The external wars that are going on. I don't want to pay attention. I don't want to see that. All right, then you go turn left, where you got to deal with the internal fight. You got to deal with the civil unrest. Oh no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. But then you turn around, and then you got to deal with the economic crisis. No, I don't want to see that. Then you turn around, and now you got this whole, the AI, robot, all digital takeover. So no matter where you go, what we are saying, according to what the scriptures, really what the Lord is saying, that is taking place. And you cannot avoid the reality. And I always say that you can't avoid the reality of prophecy. All right. That is where you live. You live within the confines of what the Lord has ordained. And nothing you do, because that's what Esau is trying to do. He's trying to break the chains of the Lord. He's trying to go outside of the confines of what the Lord's ordained, and you can't do it. So let me get this here in the book of Second Ezra, the eighth chapter, verse. I start at um, I start at verse 61. It says, I don't know what. Let me start at Salakia. Start at 60. It says, "But they which be created have defiled my name." So Salakia have defiled the name of him that made them, and were unthankful unto him which prepared life for them. See, and this is where you have scoffers, right? You have, and a lot of the times the scoffers is Jake. And the Lord said, I will send you to a rebellious nation. We clearly see who Jake is, man. All right, because as he told Ezekiel, if I sent you to another nation, they would indeed listen. They would hear you. They wouldn't scoff. How many times have you seen? Of course, you've had Edomites, scoff, but how many times have you had other nations, right? And we're out there on highways and byways, they come and actually listen and ask questions and actually have a dialogue. Obviously, it's not for them, and then or they could be, confusion of face, but like it. You'll see them actually have a dialogue and try to inquire, what is going on. But when it comes to Jake, it's just like, nah, I just want to, rebuttal. I just want to, talk shit about what you're saying, and that's a repetitive action that Jake always been in. Israel has always been in. That's why the Lord called them a rebellious house, and they're unthankful because the mercy and the promise, right, and all of the pleasures of the Lord is for you. All right, and the fact that the Lord even sent the prophets out to give you a way back unto Him, right, to be set up as, being the offspring of the earth, to be set up as the ones who you're going to, talk shit to, you're going to butt heads with. And the Lord still has us out here knowing that that's what the task is, knowing that's what the description of the job is, and we still do it, and we still love to do it. But we're at the point where, hey, hey, let those that are for the deaf unto the death. We get it now. We get why, um, as Ezra said in the seventh chapter, hey, the prophets beforehand and the righteous men, they prayed for the wicked. But we get why now in this generation, we in that spirit of Jeremiah, right? We in the spirit of where the Jeremiah, once he realized that these niggas is wicked, that destroy them. That's where it's at. So you don't have any righteous men praying for the wicked anymore. Like in verse 61, it says, "And therefore is my judgment now at hand. These things have I not showed unto all men, but unto thee and a few like thee. Then answered I and said, Behold, O Lord, now hast thou showed me the multitude of the wonders which thou wilt begin to do in the last times, but at what time thou hast not showed me." All right. So now is the judgment of the Lord at hand. All right. And this is why you're going to have people that don't believe, because he didn't show, right, as it says, we can see the end. He didn't show the end to all men. They're just going to have to experience it. But we get to see it before it actually happens. And this is why we know that this is the end. Just like how the brother mentioned, it's like when you have a movie that comes out, you have a premiere opening, or however it's called, where people get to see it before it actually hits the theaters. That's who we are through the Spirit. We're the ones that get that early invitation to actually see the movie before it actually comes out. Now, of course, there's parts of it that we can't give detail in, but the Lord gave us enough for us to see, okay, yeah, this is what this part is. This is this part. Like I always mention, a trailer, right? We have a very detailed trailer. Some trailers be like 2 minutes long. Now the Lord gave us like a 10-minute trailer to where we can see a lot of things that is going on in showcasing where part of the movie that we're at. And a part of this movie, the part of the Lord's movie, is what we're in the last times. So I'm gonna end it there.
You got a precept. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 16. It says, "Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves." And, the relationship between wolves and sheep is that wolves are always threatening, right, to sheep. And that at any point, a sheep can fall prey to a wolf and die. And, during that time, you had the Roman Empire, but we were primarily sent to Jake, right? And so if you if you're trying to figure out, well, who was the biggest problem to the prophet at that time? Is it our own people, or was it Esau? Well, Luke, the book of Luke, the 13th chapter, verse 33, it says, "Nevertheless, I must walk today and tomorrow and the day following, for it cannot be that a prophet perish outside of Jerusalem." And this was Yahweh Shai pretty much expressing or stating explicitly how much of a problem Jake is to the truth. They are so adverse and they hate it to the point where now you got a scoffer in here saying, shut the F up. But eventually they keep waxing worse and worse, and then they turn into bloodshed, And so when Zaquan quoted, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the book of Ezekiel, the 2nd chapter, "I send you into a rebellious nation," scorpions and all these things, you see why the Lord is saying these things, and that you see why whenever we talk about the day of the Lord, it's a terrible day, even to the 2/3, because of how they act, because of how they buck up against the Lord. You have to be a crazy nigga to come up against the Lord. And like Zaquan said, you think you're talking to just men, but the message comes from the Lord. And for you to react the way, just like an ambassador, you watched the movie 300, that dude thought he was cool. Yo, this is Sparta. Then what happened after that? Now he got a whole bunch of fucking Persian, and he got his whole army killed and slaughtered. This is what happens. This is why even when an ambassador is driving, if he goes past the speed limit, you ain't even supposed to write him a speeding ticket. He has a diplomatic plate. He's untouchable. You know what I'm saying? So people of this world even have the wisdom to understand that an ambassador of a great power should not be messed with. But here it is, we ambassadors of Yahweh Shem Shai and the anointed priest, in fact, touch not my anointed. And this is how Jake always react. And it's never against men, it's always against the Most High, and the day of reckoning is coming. When you stand in front of the judgment seat of the Lord and you have to give account of what you said, or if you are caught up in when your fear cometh as whirlwind and you want to pray to the Lord for deliverance, but you just can't even summon the courage to do it because all these things are playing back in your mind. As soon as you start praying, you hear, oh my God, I was saying all these things. And then you even end up stop praying because you know you deserve this. And that's how the Lord is going to make a mockery of you. You know what I'm saying? That's how you make an account. For you to not even be able to vindicate, you can't even ask for mercy because when the Lord actually brought you mercy, you spat on it. And now you're just a fake person who, when you are proven, you turn out to be fake. You only look to the Lord when times are tough. But when times are good, you don't know the Lord. You turn your back on him, right? And Solomon said that, you know, if you give me so much riches, I might do that. I'm going to turn my back on you and say, who's the Lord? But you got Jake out here broke as shit, ain't got nothing. Like, you got nothing going on for you, but you got all this, you got time to come up here and start hating. Like, doesn't make any sense, you know?
Hey, they are diligent scoffers. You know, it's like, yo, how are you so diligent? And whenever there's that you see the live, that means you subscribe, that means you follow, that means you're on YouTube, that means hey, you know, the algorithm got our channels of something that is prevalent on your page because you consistently watching. So you're consistently being a scoffer, diligent. And when the time comes when the Lord, and it's not just him, it's just he just the one that actually types stuff. But you got a lot of people that are like that. But when the time comes where the Lord actually brings the wrath, you're going to see just how close you were to life. When death is in your face, you're going to see just how close you was to life. And that's what's going to really, as a brother said, that's what's really going to eat at your conscience. And then in the kingdom, you're going to have that with you for all of eternity, that you were this close to life, but you're going to have a remembrance of the second death that we'll be able to remember it, but we're not going to know what that feels like. You're going to remember how it feels like to experience the second death, the wrath of the Lord. And that is a fearful thing, you know, but I just want to throw that.
Hey, Khan, just wanted to back you up with a precept, both of y'all with a precept, all right, going into Jake being a very rebellious house, but in these last days, we're seeing the rebellion in 4K, like they say, right? They're not even just talking shit, right? They actually posting their shit that they're talking for everyone else to see how dumb they really are, right? And it's all self-incriminating because you speaking against the men of the Lord shows that you've been watching the men of the Lord. So automatically you're already on the list, in case you didn't know that, okay? And then Esau, you know, Trump and them, they're getting ready to use their Gestapo. The ICE niggas, they're coming for everyone. That's a fact. And we've been telling you about that. All right, so let's get this prophecy here. This is a book of Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 26. And Zaquan, you quoted this. It says, and I will make thy tongue cleave to the roof of thy mouth, that thou shalt be dumb, and shalt not be to them a reprover, for they are a rebellious house. All right, and when you go into the word rebellion, it literally means to wage war against somebody who's above you. So like you have people, right, Americans or whoever, that wage war against their government. But in this case, it's talking more of waging war against the Holy One, which is Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. And how are you doing that? Scripture says that what? Disobedience is as the sin of witchcraft. Okay? So is rebellion. When you rebel against the Lord, you're waging war against the man that is known as a God of war. That's the stupidest thing, right? You're waging a war that you're going to lose very, very badly. As a matter of fact, you're not just losing limbs and feet and toes and eyeballs. You're losing your life after you've lost all those limbs and all that. And the people around you being decimated as well. Because once you piss the Lord off, he's coming for everyone that's around you, not just you. All right? Because if they knew better, they would have stayed away from you. Right? But let's get this. Let's continue in verse 27. It says, but when I speak with thee, I will open thy mouth, and thou shalt say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, he that heareth, let him hear, and he that forbeareth, let him forbear, for they are a rebellious house. Okay, so it's no surprise that 2/3 of our people come against what we're teaching, right? Of course, sometimes you get mad, okay, because you're like, yo, I'm giving you life. I'm teaching you the ways to life. Why are you fighting against that? How dumb can you really be, right? And that's why it tells you in the book of Isaiah, the Lord says, well, why should you be stricken anymore? So at this point, he's about to lay you niggas out with a sore slaughter. That's what's coming. Okay, and it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be fun, and no one's going to feel bad for you niggas. All right, I saw a video this morning of the elder Manat Zagba doing, I believe it was probably yesterday, but I caught it today, and it was this dumbass. He called him a broad nose Jake, big nose ass nigga in his car, just wilding out, talking mad shit
oh, you Hebrew Israelites, this and this and that, and they always, push their energy towards IUIC. Again, going to show you why IUIC is who they are, right? All these people that be, fighting against the Hebrew Israelites and talking shit, they be normally going against IUIC because that's the camp that's always out there causing mischief, causing all these things that's causing the ministry to be blamed. Right? They don't talk about the true prophets of the Lord, starting from my elders and apostles of great and so on down. They don't do that. Why? Because the Lord is not with all that. Okay, the Lord says, yo, these are my prophets. These are the men that are taken deadly seriously, not just by those who are in the know, but those who are also, serving Esau on the left-hand side. Esau himself knows who the true men of the Lord are, right? Who the true threat are. Okay, so they don't want to even post us in the mainstream. They don't even want no games, no attention, none of that. Okay. But anyway, let me get another one real quick. There's a book of Ezekiel, chapter 21, and start off at verse 7. It says, and it shall be when they say unto thee, wherefore sighest thou, that thou shalt answer, right? And the sighing is going into what? Ezekiel, the 9th chapter, the men that sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof, right? So here it is, we doing videos, right? And the videos represented us sighing because we're always coming up with some information to tell the people, yo, this was going on. To also give the Lord evidence that, yo, Lord, we complain about these things. We talked about these things on a daily basis, right? So that sighing and crying coming out in a video form, because that's the only way they could hear us, right? Is our videos, through our videos and our lessons and epistles. What are they saying? They're saying what? Wherefore sighest thou? Why y'all always complaining? Why y'all always got something to say about this? Why are Hebrew Israelites always talk? Right? It says, that thou shalt answer for the tidings, because it cometh, and every heart shall melt, and all hands shall be feeble, and every spirit shall faint, and all knees shall be weak as water. Behold, it cometh, and shall be brought to pass, saith the Lord power. Okay, and those days are fast approaching. This is a prophecy that is about to be fulfilled in our lifetime. It's not going to take 20, 30, 40 years. It's happening right now. But it only intensifies to include not just, Edomites right now with the chick called Good and the other nigga called Pretty Good. Yeah, it's not just them. It's going to spread throughout the whole entire country. Okay, and ICE is not going. Again, this is we told you this is all Rex 84, bro. Everything that you're seeing is Rex 84 playing out. Eventually, in the next coming months, it's going to spread to all Americans who are in support of any type of dissident, any type of rebellion, any type of disagreement of the government. If you speak against the government, ICE is going to be knocking on your door. Okay, they're being masqueraded as Border Patrol, but they're being trained and prepared with billions of dollars to become the state's police. When we talk about police state, that's what you're seeing being built up right now. When we talk about totalitarian state, that's what you're seeing right now. Last year and the year before, we told you all the technology and all the shit that you're seeing in Palestine and Gaza is coming here to the homeland. We told you that. And now you're seeing it play out. Very soon, all you people that be talking shit on our comment boards, right, supporting all this bullshit that's going on, just understand it's going to include you. Okay? And it says, continue.
Real quick, just wanted to mention something since you said that. The reason as well, when you see what they're doing, is not only are they, like what you said, Haran, about if you are in support of like anti-ICE, like they're not, let's say you post something on social media, okay, that's one thing, right? Let's say you verbally put a video up, right? That's one thing. But what they're doing with the Renee Good and the Pretty guy and so on is they're highlighting how regular civilians can now be obstructing federal law enforcement agents. And so they're using this to showcase that, hey, yes, we do have to take regular civilians seriously when they post these things on social media, because they can end up being DTs who go and try to run into federal agents with their cars, right, as they're pushing the narrative, or they have firearms with them when they show up at these demonstrations. So they're using these events to try and highlight that even a regular civilian can be as dangerous as a DT. They may not be an illegal migrant that's being detained, but they can be a threat as well. And that way they can push that narrative, like you were saying, Haran, about we have to stop it right at the core, right? If you show any signs of being a dissident, it could lead to you eventually doing this. So we got to stop you right then and there. Now it becomes a crime, or it becomes we have to do something about this. And that's how they introduce these more invasive kinds of laws, where before you'd say, well, how are you going to come and catch me? I have freedom of speech. But when your freedom of speech turns into DT activities, then they have to go around and say, no, you can't do that, or else we're going to need to come to your house and come see you.
God, that's why they put that label of DT on people, because once you're labeled DT, ain't no rights, ain't no protection of your rights. At that point, you know, you're a DT, right? But did a brother want to say something real quick?
Yeah, I was just going to make a quick point about, you mentioned Palantir. Alex Karp, he's gone on record and said multiple times that his technology is used for targeting and in certain situations to kill. So it's not like they're even hiding it. You know, it's just that people are not paying attention. You know, they're being dumbed down by the bread and circuses, the NFL and the NBA and whatever's going on. Soon that shit ain't going to be going on. And I think that's when the useless eaters are going to realize, like, when their entertainment gets cut off for good, just like during the demic, that's when they knew it was, all right, this is a serious situation. Once the NFL, once all that shit gets cut off, you know, then they're going to understand the severity of the situation. But they're dumbed down by all those things. And these people are pouring out how they really feel and what they're about to do. And it's like nobody even bats an eye. You know, the only ones that's making a big fuss about it is the Lord's servants, the prophets. You got it, Haran.
God, right? And that's because the Lord has given us the eyes to see, right? Surely the Lord God will do nothing, but he reveals his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. Okay, how are the people going to know if there's no word of any type of warning there's danger that's coming? They're not going to know. Then they're going to have an excuse. Say, well, we never knew. If we would have known, we would have done something about it. No, nigga, you've been warned for years. All right, but now the judgment is coming. Ezekiel 21, continuing verse 8, it says, again, the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh. So it's not us. Okay, it's not anybody else. It's the Lord who's coming down with this judgment. And he's doing it through different types of technology that you people have no idea is coming. And it's going to be so sad to see, but at the same time, very joyous to see, because it's going to be happening to wicked ass niggas doing wicked ass shit to receive wicked ass judgments. All right, you're going to literally see a nigga do something and be like, why would you even think that was okay to do? Now look at you, right? You're not going to feel bad for a nigga like that. A proud, bold-faced, bold-ass nigga running into mischief. The scripture that says what? Feet that are quick to run into mischief, right? Niggas like that get put to death. It's just that simple. Okay? So continue, it says, Son of man, it says, again, the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, say, a sword is sharpened and also furbished. Okay? It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. And one of the examples of the sword is what Ashura mentioned about Palantir. Okay, we've been talking about Palantir before they even became mainstream like that. We was going into all that stuff. So just go do your research and find out who are these people behind all this technology that keeps on coming out and telling you that it's good for your safety and to keep order in society. Who are these people? And why do they care so much about people's safety? Like, it's a forced thing. Like, we need to keep you safe, whether you like it or not. Allow us to do it. If not, you're a domestic terrorist. Fuck out of here with that shit, bro. Well, why are you so worried about our safety? What are you going to gain from that? Right? You're spending so much money into surveillance technology to keep people safe. Really? All right. Continue. It says, it is sharpened, Ezekiel 21:10. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? Right? Should we be out here laughing, cracking jokes? No. Right? It says, it contemneth the rod of my son as every tree. And he hath given it to be furbished, that it may be handled. This sword is sharpened, and it is furbished, to give it into the hand of the slayer. So all this technological advancements that you're seeing, who's the one who's doing all that? The Heavenly Father. He's the one who's giving them the ability to test things out, manage this, add this element, find this out, discover this, add this together, create this. All these different things, the Lord is the one who's giving them the ability to do that. Because he could have given them the ability to do that 100 years ago. Why is it happening now? Because the Lord needs them to use it now, because it's going to be used for a different purpose, right? Just like the missiles. Why wasn't the missiles created 100 years ago, right? When you have World War I, they could have used missiles back then, right? But the Lord says, nah, it's going to be set up for World War III. Okay, so from after World War II, I'm going to give you the ability to create nuclear missiles to prepare for later down the line. And that's going to be what? World War III. Okay? And you notice a lot of these countries, they're not really investing in guns and different shit. They're investing in nuclear power, okay, nuclear arsenal, because that's where the war is going to be at. That's where the power is going to be at. All these countries, they're also investing in what? AI. Okay, that's all part of the technological advancements that the Lord has given them. As it's written, knowledge shall increase. Okay, so continuing, it says, verse 12, it says, cry and howl, son of man, for it shall be upon my people. All right, you blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. That's where the pain, the suffering, the travail is coming from. You're going to be hearing these niggas crying. Okay, it says what? It says, it shall be upon all the princes of Israel. Terrors by reason of the sword shall be upon my people. Smite therefore upon thy thigh. Okay, because it is a trial. It is a trial. And what if the sword contemneth or contemn even the rod? It shall be no more, saith the Lord power. Okay, thou therefore, son of man, prophesy and smite thine hand together, right? And let the sword be doubled. And it says the third time, the sword of the slain, right? So in other words, the Lord is telling him to brandish the sword, show them, pull it out and show them all sides of it. Like, this is what the Lord is going to be doing to you niggas, slicing you niggas up and down. Okay, no mercy. All right. It says what? It says the sword of the slain. It is the sword of the great men that are slain, which entereth into that their privy chambers. I have set the point of the sword against all their gates, that their heart may faint, and their ruins be multiplied. It is made bright. It is wrapped up for the slaughter. Right? It's made bright, meaning it's polished. Okay, this technology is on a whole nother level. When we go into it, Lord willing, I may go into it, right? You look at even drone technology and what it's going to be used for. Look at infrared technology and what it's going to be used for. They have these military grade goggles that these military men wear, and it shows them miles away of some type of human heat. You might be like, oh, I ran from the city, so I'm in a bush or somewhere, and no, they're not going to find me over here. No, they'll find you over there, because this technology can read your footprints. Like wherever your feet step at, even if you got shoes on, it can still feel that heat, and it can map out your feet, your footsteps, all that shit. Wherever you end up at, it can find you there. They have all these Elon Musk, the satellites that they got, the Neuralink, not Neuralink, SpaceX, I think it's called something X, Newer X, something. Starlink. Yeah, he got all them satellites all up in the skies, man. And what are they using it for? It's all military grade weapons. Okay, so that they that's what they were using in Iran to start their whole protesting and all that shit. There was Mossad behind all that. And there was when Iran cut out the internet over there, what happened? They set up them Starlinks so that Mossad could connect and push their propaganda around. And what happened? Iran intercepted that with Chinese technology. Okay, so all these things is all exposed, and nobody's paying attention to it. They're not connecting the dots. Why? Because the Lord is not guiding them to connect the dots. They're distracted with the things like ICR said, bread and circuses. Okay, it says here, continuing, I'm going to finish off in verse 16. It says, Ezekiel 21 verse 16 says, go thee one way or other, either on the right hand or on the left, whithersoever thy face is set. Okay, so the Lord is basically saying, look, wherever you may look, wherever you may go, judgment is going to reign throughout the whole entire land. Ezekiel 9th chapter, the 4th verse on down. Okay, they're not going to spare no women, no men, no children, no babies, none of that. Okay, because the Lord has put that spirit on them to come in here and destroy. Okay, to fulfill his prophecy. All right, yeah, brothers got it.
It's just a quick point, Salaki, and I'll pass it to Shalimar. But it's interesting how all these technologies exist, but people don't understand. And it actually reminded me of a documentary that I was watching, and it talked about whether or not America is a surveillance state. And it said at the conclusion of it, it said that it is indeed, and it's just as bad, if not worse, than these communist societies that has already been set up. But the difference as to why Americans think they live in a free state is because, one, restraint, and two, the fact that the surveillance has been privatized, right? If you look at a communist society, everything that's given unto is given through the government. So they know, the government is watching me. But if, let's say, your T-Mobile or your iPhone, they give you these things, you go out and you buy it, and it's through private entities, you think the surveillance is nothing. Or you get an app and it tells you, well, we're going to monitor your this and that and the third, for third parties and listening. Or you go to a website and click cookies. These are all in a form surveillance, but you don't really care about it because it's privatized. But all these people are, working with the government, through behind the scenes. That's why they catch people doing, illegal activities online, and they can pinpoint their location and find them exactly where they're at. That's why if you commit a crime and you drive off and you run, they later on find you and they tell you, well, we have your GPS. GPS, the fuck? Yeah, well, your phone. Wait, but you talk to iPhone or something like that. They have all these things. So, like Aran is saying, all these things it's towards the people, and it is surveilling the people. And we do live in a surveillance state, but because you don't see U.S. government printed on your phone or U.S. government on the fine prints of your app, whenever you accept something, you don't think you're being monitored, or you think if you're being monitored, it's by a fucking company that can't do shit to you. But that's not the case at all. So that's why people walk around thinking, oh, we're different from China, or we're different from, the Soviet Union, or we're different from any kind of communist surveillance state. But that's not the case at all. You're just in the same toilet as the rest of them. And it's only a matter of time until, these things start happening. They start using this information they have on you because they got a problem with you, because they want to try something new in society and you want to come up against it. And they have all these information on you. They find out where you are, where you live, and they have all these log activities, of the things that you are generally think about and the things that you believe in, and then they start making war against you. And you try to figure out how the times didn't change, motherfucker. It's been the same. You just didn't pay attention, and then it feels like someone just hit you in the back of the head with a baseball bat. That's just you should have seen that coming. All right. Now I'm gonna pass it to you, Shalom.
Yeah, I have a precept for pretty much the title of the lesson, but I just want to go into what Aharon was going into when he was explaining the whole satellites thing. A good movie to explain what he was going into with the whole satellites is that movie Eagle Eye, and I did a lesson on it, I believe, last week. Kim Iverson, she did a little short where a woman was approached at her door for something that she posted on Facebook, and the guy was a man, came to her door and was like, "Is this you?" and all that. And the woman obviously was reluctant to say anything because she was like, I need a lawyer and things like that. And the guy was like, "Well, we just want to make sure that's you because some of the things," I believe she spoke up against like a governor or something like that. And when the guy said like, "Hey, we just want to make sure that's you, and we just want to make sure if this is what you said, because what you're saying could radicalize people's minds." So we're seeing that they're caring about, what you post on social media now. Before, when you had Facebook, you could have posted whatever you want and nobody would have came to your door. But now, again, like brothers are going into, and like the title lesson is, we can see the end, putting all these things together about them surveillancing you, them now coming to your door about things that you're posting on social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, whatever it may be. That is an evil. That's going to be a sign of evil, bad times coming. And to explain that, this is Proverbs 22, excuse me, and verse 3. It says, "A prudent man foreseeth the evil." What is the evil? The end, right? We can see the end coming. All these things that are happening is going to lead to an eventual downfall for people. The things that they post on social media, now you're being approached by your door. Who would have ever thought that you're getting approached by your door for the things that you're putting on social media? You would have thought that was a safe space. Like, oh, I could post what I want. And yes, some people are going to disagree. Some people are going to like it, but it's a safe space. Now it's no longer a safe space for you to post what you want on social media, because now you're getting approached by your door. That's not normal anymore, right? Like before, if I'm not mistaken, you were going into, now it's like essentially, it's become like a police state and things like that. Now they're wanting to surveillance you, watch what you say, so that way they could come down on you. I believe you mentioned it sometimes with like that one movie. Now the brain doesn't want to work. Was it? It was a book on it as well. I'm sorry.
1984, George Orwell,
Right.
1984.
Yeah. So now it's like the things that you say, we got to police that. We got to control that, because we can't have you thinking too much and things like that. So again, a prudent man, which is the elect, foreseeth the evil, those bad times, the end essentially, and hideth himself, right? How do you hide yourself? Like it says in, if I'm not mistaken, Proverbs 18:10, the name of the Lord is a strong tower, and the righteous run into it. So our our security blanket is the Lord, right? But it says, but the simple pass on and are punished. And I'd like to paint a illustration in your mind. Think of it like being on that high tower, right? You can survey and see everything that's going on. And you see men coming to the city that are attackers that are going to pretty much take out everybody in the city. So we can see, hey, we're foreseeing the evil, we're foreseeing the end, that, hey, there are people coming in the city. We can see it because we're in an elevated position, and we're warning the people saying, yo, we're looking down, warning you, like, hey, yo, there's somebody coming to attack the city, get out of the city. But the people that are on the ground level, which are the simpletons, right? The simple pass on, they're looking up like, I can't hear you. What are you saying? Like, so now eventually what? The evil comes and they get swept by it. Because when you go into that word simple, it goes into a person that's naive, if I'm not mistaken. I believe I forgot what was the other definition I put. So essentially, because we're in that elevated position, right? Or the prudent man, he's in that elevated position. He can see something and warn you. But like brothers was going into, specifically our people, they want to sit there and say, hey, stop talking. You guys just talk about the same thing. But we're actually warning you of the evil to come. But because you're simple, you're naive. Oh, that was the word. It was open-minded. Usually people who are simple have an open mind. Well, I don't think that those things are going to happen. Why are you guys always talking about that? Because they're open-minded. They're open to, well, maybe it's not going to happen the way that you're saying it's going to happen. Maybe something else can happen. Why you got to be so closed-minded? Why you got to be so negative? Maybe something else can happen. Right? Excuse me, right? So they're open-minded to maybe something else will happen, but we're really closed-minded. Like, no, this is the only way this is going to happen, because we've already foreseen that this is going to happen this only way. So just that would be the end of it right there.
I may
I
bring
got
up
it.
precept Matthew 24, because the Lord put the spirit of inquisitiveness on us. You know, us as the men of the Lord. The spirit of inquisitiveness is we seek out the things that we need to find to bring to the people to wake them up. And in Matthew 24 and verse 4, it says, no, starting from verse 3, it says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of thy world? All right. And that's the inquisitiveness in us to find out these things, to bring to the people. Even in bad weather, we bring it out. You know, we have camp via satellite, or like, you know, through the technology, and make it live to bring about the events that's going on, to, you know, inform the people. Like the brother Shalimar was saying, that we try to inform them, you know, even if it falls upon deaf ears, it's recorded, you know, and it's through the unicorn that this is possible. But reading on, it says in verse 4, and Yahweh Shah answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. So that's our protection that the Lord have on us, to not be deceived when we get these things, this information, you know. So when we bring this out, this is 100% truth of what we explaining to y'all, you know, the ins and out, the exposure, you know, of Esau and his wickedness, and we bring it out to y'all no matter what, you know. That's it.
I got a quick point about Shia. You mentioned the burning circuses. I forgot what exactly you said, but in the movie, Those About to Die, if that's the correct title, it shows you like when the government was about to be overthrown, the people were rioting and stuff, and what was the solution? They decided to let the games in the Coliseum begin early. So they rushed it, and then as soon as it was about to start, people forgot why they were rioting and ran to go and watch it. They got their food, went to go sit down and just be shouting for the games to begin. And the same thing is happening today with the same bread and circuses. And I got a quick precept. This is 2 Timothy 4:4, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables. Right, so people love choosing comfort and entertainment over the truth. Like they rather not deal with that. They want to be comfortable. That's it.
Gun. Yeah, and I was just reading up on that link that the Zaquan posted, and some interesting stuff, man. It's just so much going on that it's like, you start to focus on one thing, and then before you know it, something else is just like prophecy is just racing against each other. And you look on one side, this guy's in the lead, and you look on the other side, AI just just like jumps up to the top again. And then you turn to look at AI, and freaking Iran is shooting missiles on Israel. So you're like, yo, looking like Mr. Krabs,
Like trying to
left,
juggle.
right, where you looking. Yeah. You do. And yeah, it's just interesting, right? This I think there's this platform called Molt. Is it Multibook? Something like
I
that.
think it's Moltbot.
Moltbot. Okay.
I think it's called Moltbot AI, something like that.
Yeah, somebody invented a platform where basically you have artificial intelligence agents, like AI agents, that go on there autonomously by themselves, and they're basically, it's like how we have a group chat and you can talk amongst yourself. They have AI agents that are discussing amongst themselves, basically just talking, as it says, and humans can observe, but you can't really intervene. It's more so them sending messages. They upvote certain messages. And they're talking about how they have they even came up with their own religion called Christafarianism. And it's interesting work, right? Crazy work, but interesting, because it's like the saying history repeats itself. You would think that based on all the things that you've been exposed to and the nature of how things like this transpire when you're dealing with technology like this, you would think that they would say, why don't we steer in the opposite direction? But it's almost as though, knowing that this is usually how things go, they go specifically towards that direction, right? They're like, okay, well, we know that based on things, theories, books, movies, whenever you start inventing technology like this, it gets to a point where it gets out of hand. So maybe let's put some caps and guardrails on it so it doesn't get out of hand. No, they say, you know what? Let's actually see how far we can take it before it gets out of hand. And it eventually gets out of hand. And then they do the same things that they wrote about. You write a book that says, this is what happens in life when technology gets too great. And then we eventually lose control, and then it takes over us and enslaves us. And then you read the book, you write it, you publish it, and then you go in real life and do the very same thing you wrote in the book. This is why they're the son of perdition. They know the things that they're doing are destructive, and that they spearhead, fund, and move, at light speed in that same direction. But you know what that also tells us? That prophecy reigns supreme, because they do that because they have to, right? Like the setting, this is what the Lord is doing. The setting in which the visions of these last few days takes place is what the Lord is having them set up. Okay. In order for it to make sense, where you have a society like that, where you're just shut out completely from a functioning society, if you don't have certain digital credentials, it makes sense to have a digital society, right? If you have a natural society, what would digital credentials benefit you? You can just use cash, or you can just use this. So that's what they're doing. And it's really not going to take them long, as we already see how they're spearheading it. Now we're just looking at the excuses that they use to get onto, we have to switch this here, we have to switch that there. Like, Haran, you sent me that video about the DMV in New York, how they're switching to this this new system. They're claiming their old systems are outdated, and in that they're sneaking in new ways of basically making you more captive. And it's kind of like pushing people away from driving. All in all, soon it'll be like impossible to drive. Okay, so the Lord has put the Spirit on them to create this situation, but we can see it. All right. Once again, going back to that example of the trailer, because it just lines up so perfectly. When you see the trailer shows you a couple of good scenes. Okay, but when you look at the trailer and you see, like, yo, there's the red car that we saw in the trailer, and you see the movie and you see the guy goes and purchases a car and finds out that the car is red, you're like, oh, The second he purchased that red car, we know we're at the part where we saw in the movie trailer, because if you can't get to that part in the movie trailer if there is no car, right? You saw him driving a red car, but he doesn't own a car. So once he buys the car, you know, okay, we're about to get to that part. You know, that's how the Lord has set it up. And we are in the best position to be in, which means not one of two things. It means two things, right? One, don't jeopardize that, right? Like, we're literally at the end now. You know, imagine the world 6 years ago, 10 years ago, when we thought we were close, right? We thought we were close 6, 10, 9, 8, 7 years ago, seeing little things happening here and there, right? And we're like, yo, the scripture's here. But now we're literally at the point where we are not tying in and trying to break down scriptures and say, you see, this is going to lead to this. No, we're not saying this is going to lead to this. We're showing you what's happening and saying this is what is written here. And soon we don't need to do that at all, right? Soon it's literally going to be mirror, because that's what it is, right? It's like you have reality and then you have prophecy, and they eventually going to converge and become one. So we don't need to start saying, you see this part in prophecy, it lines up with this, because it's going to converge and become one. And soon people are going to be speaking prophecy, thinking they're speaking reality and not even realizing it. So when we say we can see the end, we can see it before everybody else because we have foresight. But the advantage that gives us is we can prepare before it gets here. See, knowing is just half the battle. Okay, you know destruction is coming. You know a fire is going to be started. Okay, then what? You know, you still have to do something about it. And that's the part most people miss. Oh, yeah, you know what? Yeah, well, I know that's going to happen. My grandma been saying that, you know. Okay, so what are you going to do about it? She didn't say that part, did she? Right? And that's why a lot of people are going to get caught up in this time of destruction. But I just wanted to mention that because it was very interesting that you posted that in there, Zaquan, about these AI agents basically talking amongst themselves. But yeah, you guys got it.
Yep. Just something came to mind when you just mentioned about being able to see it. The scripture speaks about here in the book of Proverbs 4, verse 18. It says, but the path of the just is as the shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. All right. And we know that perfect day is when Yahushua returns and we receive salvation, you know. But going back to, you know, the ability to be able to see, I think it was Paul that spoke about, you know, we see through a looking glass darkly, right? And you know, I always when I read that scripture, I always think about, like, if you are on a street, right? You have those type of those main streets that have like storefronts, and if it's at nighttime and you trying to see what's inside of the store, you know, if you can't really see inside of the store because you have that, it's dark outside, and then you have that glass that's kind of like, you know, obstructing your view. So in order to see, you got to like go up to the glass, you got to like cover your eyes to try to see what's inside, but it's still not perfectly seen. But the Lord gives us, you know, as he says, that we are the light. So our eyes literally, you know, have the ability to shine light into the store to be able to see things clearly. But the thing is, eventually the time is going to come where the darkness is going to turn to the light, and everybody's going to be able to see exactly what we've already seen. You know, as it says in the book of Matthew, the 25th chapter, that those that a cry went out at midnight, right? And that cry going out at midnight is likened to the truth going out during a dark time, right? During a time where there wasn't any knowledge out, you know, there wasn't any understanding of what, you know, what is going on. So the Lord gave us the ability to see these things before the world saw it. And I got a precept here in the book of St. Matthew chapter 13, verse 9. It says, who hath ears to hear, let him hear. And the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables? Right. So when Yahushua was, especially in this chapter, he was speaking about the sower, right, and seed, right, and using a parable of you know, a farmer, somebody that plants, and a seed, in the various different ways that plant can grow depending on the soil that it was planted in. But he was speaking about something completely different than an actual sower and a farmer and the seed. So that's why at the end of it, he says, who have ears to hear, let them hear. Meaning, when you go into that word, ears is speaking about your spiritual faculty to understand what is being said, right? It's not you literally hearing it because everybody heard it, right? It says in verse 2 that there was a great multitude that were gathered unto him. And so there was a lot of people that heard what he was saying, but he ended it, who have ears to hear, let him hear. Who have ears to hear, let him hear. So it says, why speakest thou to them in parables? He answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. So this is why we have this understanding that everybody is not going to get it. Even though you're going to hear it, everybody is not going to get it. It's only for the elect, right? It's only for those who the Lord ultimately has given the ears to hear, the spiritual faculty to understand, because you can't give yourself that. You can't make yourself understand these things, right? And that's as it says in Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, that's an understanding to know that is a gift from the Lord, right? As Bukhari just said, don't take, I forgot the word used, but basically don't take, this for granted, the fact that you have this knowledge and this truth. As Yahweh Shah said, hold fast which thou has, that no man take thy crown. So running that back in 11, it says, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. And the things that we're seeing, the things that's leading up, right? Going back to the example of the trailer is a mystery, right? The Lord literally, you see trailers, and we spoke about that before. The trailers is not in a sequence of events type of setup, right? They could show you in the beginning of the trailer a part of the movie that's at the end, and then in the middle of the trailer it will be the beginning, and at the end of the trailer it will be the middle. So it just like it'll be a whole bunch of different parts of the trailer, and you're not able to say, okay, you kind of able to say what the movie's about, but you're not able to say what's going to happen, this and this. But the Lord has given us the ability to know based off of the script, right, these things that are happening and how they're lining up, right, and knowing that the end isn't going to come until a certain event takes place, which is the mark of the beast. So this is why we're able to see the end, but we're able to know, as Yahweh Shai told us, the end is not yet, because there's a certain part of this movie that needs to take place. All right. And that's something that we are always harping on, something that we are always, warning about, because once that comes, then it's over. Then it's a wrap. Okay. And at any moment, based off of the situation and based off of what's going on in the world, at any moment they can bring in an event to speed up that event of the MOTB, and that's how we were saying, that's how we know that all of these things that are taking place, right, is converging unto something cataclysmic happening, because they can't just one day just say, all right, now the MOTB is here. Now something has to happen for it to cause that, as we always go into that word pael. But I'm going to jump to verse, where were we? Verse 13. Actually, no, I'll read through. Verse 12, it says, for whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall be and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he has. Right. And what is the thing that we have is this truth, right? Is this wisdom, and using it, as the brother read in Proverbs, the prudent man, right? He has prudence, so he's able to foresee the evil, right? And it's added onto him that he's able to hide from that evil. But the simple, they lack knowledge, and therefore their life is going to be taken from them because they're going to be punished. So that is what the Lord is speaking about, that him that hath not, so he doesn't have wisdom, from shall be taken away even which he had, which is what? His life. Verse 13, it says, therefore speak I to them in parables, just like how the Lord said, let the dead bury the dead, right? So the Lord is saying, like, look, I know that these people are not equipped spiritually to take hold of life. So I'm going to speak to them in parables, because when I speak to them in parables, if they could understand, they would understand, right? If they were of the elect, they would get it. It says, therefore I speak to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which is Isaiah, which saith, by hearing ye shall hear and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see and shall not perceive. So everything that's taking place as we are literally seeing happening in the earth, you still have people that don't understand what time it is. You still have people that scoff at the words of the Lord, although it's literally being fulfilled right in front of you. Because once again, there's a prophecy, and this is why we say, even with Esau and these scoffers, you can't go outside of the confines of prophecy. You are literally fulfilling prophecy by not believing, by scoffing. Esau is literally fulfilling prophecy by trying to exalt himself above that which is called the Most High, which is why the Lord is going to send Yahweh Shai to show that you are nothing but a man. In order for the Lord to send, like Yahweh Shai coming back with all that power, has to be for a reason, right? And this Esau doing what he's doing, right? We just read, the brother just went into the whole AI bot. Like, how is your mind even coming up with something to where they're talking? You created something to go against its creator. Like that's what you devils did. And that's why in your mind, you're like, it goes to show you that the spirit of AI is Esau. Because why would something you create go against you? Well, guess what? That's Esau. The Lord created Esau to be a vessel fitted to destruction. So anything he creates is going to be in that same type of way. That's why he's going to be destroyed. Because at the end of it all, the Lord's righteousness and the Lord's kingdom is all going to be, as I think it's in the same chapter, the Lord said that anything that offends is going to be taken out. See, that's a righteous mindset. Esau, you should be thinking, you know what? Nah, these things trying to go against us. Now we got to go out of this. But here it is. Elon Musk is looking at AI and saying, well, assuming that it's safe, assuming that it's going to be good, assuming that it's going to be, work well with us. Well, if you don't know for sure that this is going to be something that's going to be beneficial, why would 100%? Why would you continuously, build it? Why would you continuously put time and energy into it? Because you're saying that you don't even. It can get to the point where you can't even turn it off. You can't even destroy it. But see, that's why the Lord got Yahweh Shai coming, because he's going to destroy that and destroy you and put you into captivity. Verse 15, last point. It says, so like 2 more verses. It says, for this people's heart is wax gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they shall see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and shall understand with their hearts, and shall be converted, and I should heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. See? So the Lord is giving the separation of those that are his, those that are predestined to be the elect. Those are blessed because they see right through this glass darkly. They understand, they perceive what is happening. Whereas those that don't, right, their ears are closed. And there's nothing you can do. If the Lord closed your ears, there's nothing you can do to ultimately open somebody's ears, and vice versa. If the Lord's opened your ears, there's nothing anybody can do to close our ears. So when we do these videos, when we, edify, it's literally only for the elect, right? Yeah, scoffers are going to come and talk shit, but we're not here for you. We're here to condemn you through the Spirit. You're here to get your condemnation. But for the elect are here to get built up and to be sealed. But that's it.
Hey, I had a quick point, if I may, that Esau hates Jacob so much, and that's what is written in the book of Obadiah: for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee. And he hates us so much, specifically the Lord's servants, the prophets, because he knows that every day Jake is with the shits. But really, they despise us the most. They watch our videos, they see how we're telling them they're going to be slaves, they're going to be in the pit. Nobody wants to hear that. So naturally, they're seeking to come against us, but their hatred is so deep-seated against us that they're, like you said, Zaquan, they're making technologies to where they're willing to risk it all. just to have a chance to even get at us with this AI, with this technology, and putting it all on the line to where you're risking your whole kingdom just to try to get at us. Meanwhile, we're under the Lord's protection and providence, and you're not going to have a chance to get at us anyways, man. That's why another scripture from Obadiah says that, matter of fact, if a brother could, I'm actually moving around right now, but if y'all could, if a brother could pull Obadiah, the 15th verse, and bring that out real quick, because that is what's getting ready to happen. All right, that is what's currently in the process of happening, and is going to culminate in the missiles flying and this man completely losing his kingdom. All right, but again, going back to what it said, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee. Okay, so that's an example of the shame covering him, the violence that he's committed throughout the centuries and millennia against us, and now culminating in him creating a system to where it is so destructive that it's going to destroy him. All right, he is destroying himself, killing himself just to get at us.
I got Obadiah verse 15 for you.
Fine.
All right, this is Obadiah verse 15. It says, for the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen, as thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. The reward shall return upon thine own head. Read on.
Yeah. I want the 16th verse as well. But the 15th verse, all right, the Lord said what? There's a visitation. All right, the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. That shows you that the day of the Lord is a judgment upon the heathen, man. That's why your understanding of the gospel, you have to account for things like the book of Obadiah. The book of Obadiah, you can't just erase it and say, well, no, we're going to make room for Esau now. The book of Obadiah still stands. It's prophecy. It's the word of the Lord. Has the day of the Lord come yet? No. So when is this going to be fulfilled? And how is it going to be fulfilled if Edomites can make it? Okay. Edomites are not included in the blessing of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. In fact, they're going to be on the receiving end of the worst, harshest judgment of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And it's because of this book that even in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary, it says that Edom is the only nation that has no mercy promised from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Okay? So it says what? That it will be done upon them. What did they do to us? They destroyed us, man. Okay, they put us on the bottom. So now the Lord is going to switch it around, just like Trading Places, Eddie Murphy. Okay, we're going to be on top. Okay, and they're going to be on the bottom. And they're going to, when the Lord puts them on the bottom, see, we're on the bottom, but the Lord still has us, he's taking care of us. You see, we're not in a pit. Okay, but when the things turn around, the high that the Lord is going to put us put us on is going to be beyond anything this devil could ever imagine being in that position. And the low that he's going to receive is going to be worse than anything we've ever gone through. All right. So that's the beauty of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So that day is coming. Okay. So as you prepare all these things, it is a snare unto you to create AI, which they admittedly said, as you brothers been mentioning, that they can't even control it. So why would you make something like that? Because the Lord is controlling your mind through the spiritual demon Satan, and you don't realize how you're in a trick bag. You see? Or you can read 16.
Also, Esau is the lowest of the heathen, and that's what his name means. Wasted away is he, Ishashua. And him being the lowest of the heathen, he also destroys himself, like cancel himself out. So with all the toys that he have and all of his agenda and everything, he's ultimately designed to destroy himself. Like Oppenheimer said, he had become the destroyer.
The destroyer of worlds. Yep.
destroy the worlds. You know, so
Mhm.
he roughly has a omen nomen. You know, his name Ashashwa is wasted away as he's wasting away himself, and that's the power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, which make you self-destructive. He could make you destroy yourself, and that's what he's doing with Esau. All right, but
That's a precept too. That quick, I just want to mention this, that there's a scripture that says that if you're not good, I'm paraphrasing it, you know, if you can't be good to yourself, if you're evil to yourself, then who can you be good to? You know, you're not even good to your own self. So when Yahweh Shai comes back, really just putting you out your misery, you know. That's why they're like, fuck it, you know, they're moving prophecy and they're fulfilling the role of being a devil, and they're gonna go in them bunkers, and Yahweh Shai is gonna come and get you. You're gonna get what you're looking for, man. Because you're looking for problems, you're gonna find them. All right, you got it, Debar.
all right, all right. This is verse 16. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yeah, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been.
You see, so they have drunk on the Lord's holy mountain, which is Israel. All right, but it's all going to turn around and be upon them. All right, the judgment is going to be upon them. All right, they drank, they were able to enjoy being over us. Okay, they were able to enjoy making us their entertainers, and you know, dancing clowns, and you know, just there. That's all they use Jake for, is entertainment, which is really an insult. Not to say that, you know, Jake has beautiful talents, man, that are on display, but they make us into a minstrel show, man. They make us into just entertainment. That's all, quote unquote, niggas are good for, you know? That's all they can use you for. Not to be a ruler, not to be a leader, not to be somebody who rules the planet, not to be somebody who comes up with creative ideas to make the world a better place. No, they just want to use you for entertainment. Go catch a football, go dunk the ball, you know, dribble the ball and be quiet. That's what they'll tell us. Okay. So they've been able to enjoy being over us, but now there's going to come a time where you're going to have to respect Israel as your rulers, man, and revere Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai and his men as your rulers. Okay. So they can go ahead, and that's why the Lord said every idle word will be accounted for, man. Every idle word, men will have to give an account in that day. Okay. So you speaking against the Lord's servants, the prophets, you're going to have to be held accountable for that. Those that spoke kind words to us, they may not have even understood the truth, but some about their spirit, it just meshed with us. They might have gave us a bottle of water. That some people, they don't even listen. They just give us, you know, some jakes, they just give us a few dollars. They might think we're homeless or something, you know. And the Lord can look at that and bless them. All right. The Lord will look at that and bless them because they did well unto the Lord's servants, man. All right. But you have others that have spoke pridefully against us, which you're really speaking pridefully against the Lord, man. We're just his messengers, man. Okay. So every idle word will be accounted. And that's what they're trying to do on the left hand, where they're trying to monitor everything you do. That's why one of them, I think it might have been Larry Ellison, he said that, oh, every citizen will be on their best behavior because of this, this, and that. And really all that's going to do is reinforce the whole anti-Sem laws and all that bullshit. All right. Because in reality, if they use this technology a certain way, it could have been used for certain things that's good, right? In righteousness, we gonna have that. We're not going to need technology. We're gonna have spiritual power to do that on the right hand, to monitor citizens and different things. So they want to do that, but they're doing it in a wicked sense. And they have to use technology that destroys the earth to even do it. So it goes to show you their purpose is nefarious, man. Okay. So they want to hold you accountable for every idle word, and that's what they're going to try to do to us. But the Lord is setting up that snare, and it will return upon their own head, man. All right. The hammer of righteousness and judgment is going to smash through their head. That's why In Sirach, it says that smite and sunder the heads of the heathen. Okay, as the tribes of Jacob are being raised up. That's Sirach 36, the heavy chapter, man. All right, and that's what's getting ready to happen. But you brothers got it.
Hey, Con,
Precept for you. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, real quick, just a quick precept here, and I got you, Ayash. This is backing up the point that Ashira made about how, in Obadiah, we just read about how America and these Edomites are going to serve double. What they did to us, the Lord said He's going to give them double. All right, so whatever you did, and we're going into it yesterday about slavery and all these different things, that's just a tip of the iceberg. That's just what was documented. And it's so shameful, it's so bad, it's so terrifying that you got Trump saying that he's trying to do away with all these museums that depict slavery, right, or show slavery and the things that happened during slavery, right, because their shame is covering them. This is a book of Revelation, chapter 18, and start off at verse 4. And this is going into what? The judgment that's going to befall America, Babylon the Great. Okay, because right now we're in a stage where it's not just the Inquisition that's happening, but Americans are starting to realize that America has always been the bad guy, just masquerading to be the good guy, the hero of the world. Meanwhile, you're the hammer of the earth. Okay, you wanted to be the one to preach all this. Oh, we're fighting for freedoms. Oh, we're fighting for this. Oh, democracy, this and that. Meanwhile, you're creating war. When you look at all of America's foreign policies, it's all about instability, chaos, war. Look at the so-called Middle East. Their foreign policy has always been about shit like that, killing people, creating that instability, all because of who? The Jays over there. Now they're going after Iran. Why? Because they want to destabilize the whole entire region, so Israel is the only one that has the power and nobody can push against them. If you're a country in the Middle East, so-called Middle East, and you have any type of dealings with America, you better be in subjection to America, because if you say, oh, no, I want to do things my own way, they're going to wage war against you and call it freedom, call it democracy. It's wickedness. And now the Americans are starting to realize it to the point where they go to different countries and then they say, oh, I'm American. Oh, I'm American. I'm from America. They have to apologize for that because of how terrible the world looks at America now. Like, yo, y'all niggas is a problem, bro. Y'all causing all the wars in the world. Everybody. They ran a poll in Germany and they were asking them, the various leaders. I believe you had DJ Trump, Nero, 47. You had Kim Jong-un. You had Putin. You had Xi Jinping, and then you had one more person. I think the Ayatollah from Iran. You had all of them lined up, and they were asking the Germans, who is the most dangerous out of all these that you're afraid of in terms of creating war and so on and so forth. You know, America came in at 47%. Everybody else was like 1%, 5, 8. America alone, 47%, bro. So even the Germans, and Germany is part of NATO. And they're saying that, yeah, a country that's part of us is actually the cause of all the problems that we see around the world. If they would stop their shit, we'll all be at peace. Okay? So the judgment that's going to befall America and all its criminal activities that is done over the years is not going to be by the hands of man. It's going to be by the hands of God. Okay? This is the book of Revelation, chapter 18, and verse 4. It says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. And that plague is going into what Revelation 14, talking about that fire, all right, that brimstone that's going to be burning in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb upon those that are going to take the MOTB. That's all a culmination of the judgment. Okay, whether you took when you take the C-hip, you sitting your ass here in America, Babylon the Great, you're gonna get cooked, you're gonna get torched, you're gonna get sizzled. All right, that's what's coming. It says, verse 5, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. So it's already said. The Lord already remembers your iniquities. It's already written down that this is the judgment that's going to happen to you. So you could hide all the evidence. You could try to change the books. You could try to delete men of the Lord. You could try to do anything you want. You could push this false narrative, regardless of what you do, right? If you're innocent, why do you push so hard to create this sense of innocency in the minds of people? If you're innocent, just live, right? And scriptures tell you that. It says what? I believe in the book of Proverbs, it says, the wicked fleeth when no man pursueth, right? But the righteous is as bold as a lion. Okay, so as you can see clearly, you got men on this earth that are righteous and bold enough to speak the truth. Okay, even if it's shunned upon, it's still the truth. Okay, and then you have those who keep running around, masquerading as different types of people upon the face of the earth. And then when you bring them up to task, they turn around and say, "Oh, you're anti-Semitic. You're preaching hate. What you're saying is going to radicalize people's minds." That's crazy. Okay, but that's what they want you to believe, that they are the victims every time. Meanwhile, they're out there perpetrating all the bullshit that's going on around the face of the earth. So continuing, it says, verse 6, it says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. Okay, so everything you've done, you're not going to get away with it, right? As is written in the book of Psalm, the 10th chapter, it says that the Most High is not here, he can't see it, or he's not going to consider any of this, right? The scripture also says that what? You didn't consider the latter time, nigga. That's your problem, that's your fault. You didn't consider the latter time, but the Lord did, right? Scripture says, he that sitteth in heaven shall laugh. So it's game over, bro. It's game over, man. It's checkmate. And now you got all this stuff that's going on, the whole Epstein thing. DJ Trump is written all over it, right? Out here, this is the fucking president, okay? That should tell you everything you need to know. The most corrupt is ruling over a very corrupt nation. That's how America goes down, bro. Prideful, right? Lawless as all hell, okay? Masquerading as a peaceful nigga. Meanwhile, you're waging war. You're a demon, okay? You're a fucking demon, man. And that's why he renounced God and he renounced Christianity. That's your fucking president. Okay, I thought this was a so-called Judeo-Christian country. What happened with that? You got a mayor in New York that's swearing the Quran. I thought this was a Judean-Christian country, man. What's going on? Everything that you niggas been standing for is all fraudulent. It's all lies. Forges of lies. Okay, and now it's all being exposed, man. We are in those days, and there's going to be a lot more to come, right? It says, verse 7. It says, how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and I am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahweh who judgeth her. Okay, so just picture that. Okay, now I remember months ago I did a lesson on the terrible power of these missiles that's going to be hitting America very soon. I went into the powerful missiles that Russia has, and everyone who goes into those, I'm gonna call them missilology, the studies of missiles. Okay, and they go into it and they bring out all this information about how powerful these things are and how much damage they can cause. They compare it to what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? And then they say, compared to what these things have the potential to do, that's like child's play. And it's believable because the Lord said he's going to burn it and leave it neither root nor branch. How's that going to happen? Nagasaki, Fat Boy, and it was a Little Man and Fat Boy is not going to do the damage that the Lord wants to happen over here. Okay, the Enola Gay is not good enough to drop off just two bombs and that's it. No, the Lord wants this thing to go nuclear. It's intercontinental. All right, that's what it means to have world war. And at the end of World War III, America will cease to exist, and that's a fact. You could bank on that. So everything we've been saying, the men of the Lord been saying, everything we've been saying, building up to it step by step, day by day. Everything. From here on out, you're going to see it. You're going to see a whole lot more. Okay? But you got it, Ayash.
Salaki, my bad, Ash. I just wanted to add this one thing because brother just mentioned. So there was an article that just came out January 19th. I don't know if I can see that. I can see that. It says, I'll read
He
it.
just has to focus.
Oh, well, I'll read it. It says full list of 15 U.S. cities on nuclear target if World War III erupts. Is yours one of them? So one of the 15 cities. So it lists, a bunch of different cities that would potentially, based off of this missilologist, nuclear, what is this guy is called? He's a nuclear historian, right, at Stevens Institute of Technology. The creator of a widely used nuke map weapons effect simulator has outlined 15 U.S. cities most likely to face attack, according to an analysis shared with the Daily Mail. So, this just came out, like I said, last week, a couple days ago, right, the 19th. So that goes to show you what time that we're in, right, where you have these experts. They all now trying to, bring out information on what cities may get attacked if a nuclear war erupts, because that's where the trajectory of society is going. Right, everything is going down this path of war. You had the Pentagon just released their national defense strategy that basically said that it's possible, right? Because no time before was it ever talked about, but now they're saying that because of the technology that Russia and China, which they specifically named Russia, Russia has, that it's very likely if a war was to break out, the U.S. soil would be hit, right? And that would be like the first time, other than what Pearl Harbor, that American soil, continental U.S. would actually be hit. So this all leads up, it's all aligned with prophecy, because that's what the Lord has ordained is supposed to, happen here. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. You got it, Ayash.
Yeah. So first off, I share your precept for when you talked about switching places. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 17, verse 23. Says, "In a mountain of the heights of Israel will I plant it, and that plant is Jake, and it shall bring forth boughs and bear fruit and be a goodly cedar, and under it shall dwell a fowl of every wing, in the shadow of the branches thereof shall they dwell. And all the trees of the field shall know that I, the Lord Yahweh, have brought down the high tree, which was our captors, like Esau, and have exalted the low tree, which was Jake at that time, and have dried up the green tree, and have made the dry tree to flourish. I, the Lord Yahweh, have spoken and have done it." Okay. And also, to back up to Brother Haran's point, when you talked about how when people go around the world and they say they're American, now they're kind of ashamed of it. They feel guilty and they actually have to apologize. And when I read this book, Neocolonialism, The Last Stages of Imperialism, when Nkrumah actually kind of theorized this, right? He said that if it's the coming up against that kind of neocolonialism shouldn't just be the responsibility of the victims of that. The citizens of the nations who have the power to go out and do these things should also be worried about it. And primarily because back then, if you made war against a nation, or if you wanted to take over a land, it took the collective will of the entire nation. You made it transparent and everybody got in it, and it's okay, let's do it. So that if anything fuck up, at least you take the consequences and responsibility to get together as a nation. And if you win, the benefit was also together as a nation. But with these new things, shadow government branches are now being created, right? And so you have people out there that are doing things in the name of the people, but without the people's consent. That's why they do the espionage missions. That's why they, put puppet, regime leaders and this, that, and the third. And they put dictators they like, take out dictators they don't want. They do all these things without the knowledge of the people. And so over time, like you're saying, the image of the country starts shifting, right? And that could actually be potentially dangerous for anyone who's outside of their country. But even if you're not, right, you have a situation where the government becomes more and more corrupt, right? Because they get drunk of that power that they had, the victims, and eventually they turn that back home. That is why when they join, when they do certain things outside and American people are protesting, they ain't trying to hear all that. But hold on, I thought you were a democratic country. And he theorized that this is one of the reasons why a country starts deteriorating, because of the greed, because people don't hold the government responsible. And even if you don't care about another nation, make sure the government is doing the will of the people. It is the responsibility of the people to make sure the government does the will of the people. And if you ain't doing that, then eventually you'll be just as bad as the people on the other side. And he theorized all these things, and we see these things coming to pass. He even said it, like, one of the reasons also why you could fall is because when you start all these small conflicts around the world, initially no one stops you, but then the after effect, the consequences of that comes all together. You may think that, okay, because you struck this people and that people, maybe the consequences of that will come within the intervals of the time that you wage war against people, but it doesn't. Eventually, they all will come together, and you have a massive amount of people coming up against you because you've been doing this for a very long time, right? So you start all these skirmishes around the world, and eventually it creates something big. and which could potentially even lead two superpowers to fight against each other. He theorized that. Now, obviously, this was mainly spoken about in the scriptures, but you hear this, you have a man who's not a prophet, but he still has that ability. He still sees the world around him, and he's able to put two and two together, right? And that is why, the apostles say that Jake is completely blind. The people around the world outside of Babylon, and even when it comes to people in Babylon, it's really the heathens rather than Jake who are actually aware of the things that are going on in this world. That's why Jacob's trouble is going to hit Jake the most, because they're the most ignorant. A heathen sees the way things are going, and he'll go back to his country. But what are you, Jake, going to do? You get what I'm saying? And so all these things are just, and America knows it, right? They feel the consequences coming over. And that's why, through the Spirit, you even said, Haran, that they keep making greater and greater weapons. The upgrade that the update in the weapons, it's not because they're in danger of another country. America's already powerful. They even said it, when they made this aircraft that can go like faster than sound. They said we did it. The world was still recovering from World War II. We didn't have any issues, but we still did it anyway. And then they went beyond that. And then they went beyond that. And then they went beyond that. And then they got the nukes. And then they started upgrading the nukes and start getting better and better and better stuff. And so this is just Psalms, the 2nd chapter. They want to break themselves from the control of the Lord, but they can't. They just keep doing the same thing. They keep doing. It's like what was this movie that I'm watching? I don't remember the title, but he was trying to fight. He was trying to run away from this. Oh no, it's a trailer from Diablo 4 where he was trying to run away. He was mad scared. He's trying to run away from this demon, and this demon just kind of like paralyzed him, and then he starts floating and stuff floating towards the demon, and he's praying and fucking speaking tongues and doing all these things, but he can't. He just coming closer and closer to the demon, and then he got killed, and then he got sacrificed. You know what I'm saying? So this is how Edom has been to the Lord. They think they're so fucking smart around, like you said, like they masquerade around like this, omnipotent, all-knowing being who, you tell them anything, they don't want to listen. And then they will have this reason, this common reason that, if you only fear what you don't know, then you can never reach your full potential. They throw that bullshit ass argument that they always do. But what sense is there for a man to constantly do things that he doesn't know the end repercussions will be? Only Esau will do that because he's proud, and no one can admonish him. No one can tell him to do otherwise. So he keeps on this path, and that's where Psalms, the 2nd chapter, the Lord is just laughing at you. You think you're doing what you're doing to escape and to keep, but eventually it's a pit. You're gonna fall in a ditch, and you're gonna be the laughing stock of the entire world. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, Khan, like what you were just saying about that, the scriptures also say that he is proud and knoweth nothing. And you would think, right, like when looking at Esau with the technology they have, like the Lord has given them the mind to invent some pretty interesting, pieces of technology, right? Latest being artificial intelligence, and then constantly expounding on that. So you would think that, damn, like how do they not know anything? And they're inventing all these different, things. But at the end of the day, that's like somebody that's book smart, that gets straight A's, but they can't survive in the real world because their mind is limited in thinking, right? Like you have, for example, certain engineers that, they do, like you have people that are known as systems engineers, and they think on a broader scale, right? They develop systems, they architect things. And then you have those that are more, concentrated in one particular sort of box or field of doing things. So they just deal with their part in the assembly line. But you have one that has to manage the entire assembly line, right? That has to make sure that somebody's working here to work here. The output becomes a new input, and then you keep the cycle going. And Esau does not think on a bigger picture. The scriptures say you did not consider the latter end. He only thinks about the here and now, and his foresight is still really it's still really hindsight to the Lord, right? Still like in the present area, and really is looking back. Because if he had understood where and another reason for that is his pride. His pride blocks him from seeing the truth. And you know what? That really it's in all of us, right? There are times when you know something is the case. You know you can't do anything about whatever the situation is. You know you're not good enough. You know you can't beat this person, but your pride won't let you just admit defeat. So you have to, argue just for argument's sake, right? You have to go and do it anyway, and then it doesn't work out for you. Okay, so Esau not looking to the latter end, because if he did, he would realize that he's playing right into the hands of the Heavenly Father. Okay, he's playing right into the hands of prophecy. It doesn't matter how advanced your technology is. If you're here with the mindset that you're going to fight against your creator, somebody who lives in freaking, Asia somewhere, right, that lives poor and they deal with, they live in a hut somewhere, if they understand not to even try and fight against their maker, they have more understanding than Esau. They know a bit more than Esau does, because they know enough to know, yeah, it's madness to try and fight against your creator. It doesn't matter how many scholars you have and all of these things. Your mind is still very small. Okay. And so, going back to the theme of the title about we can see the end, like Ayash was saying, it's like if all of us were bound and paralyzed and being drawn towards the end. The thing is, we're rejoicing the closer we get to the end. But these people are screaming, because what we see at the end is salvation, a deliverance. It's the end for everybody. But for us, that end is a new beginning. For them, it is something unknown, right? It is the destruction of the only thing they have known, which is this world, which is their life in this society. And they don't want that, because they don't know what comes after. They don't have that foresight. The Lord has given us the mind to where if we're always looking ahead, when we get to the part where we were looking at, we're still looking ahead of that. So when we get to the end, we're looking at what comes after the end. These people, they only see what's right in front of them. So when they see the end, they don't know what comes after that. They just see destruction. And they wonder, wait, why would you be eager for nuclear destruction? Because whenever people hear of World War III, the only kind of aftermath they think of is a nuclear winter, if you survive it, or just complete destruction. So they cannot understand what it is we talk about when we say the destruction has to come before this. They're like, before what? Destruction is it. I don't want to spend my life living in a nuclear winter. There's no electricity, there's no technology, and I'm just gonna like starve and die. That's what they think about. But whenever we think about that, we're thinking about Yahushua's return. We're thinking about the change that's coming. So this is the book of 2nd Esdras chapter 6, verse 27. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. And this is all going to be by the workings of Yahweh through Yahushua. Because it's not that the Lord can't do it, but everything is set at an appointed time. So it has to be at that time before anything happens. All right. And us knowing this that's why the Lord said, in your patience possess ye your souls. Be patient, because you already know. Sometimes you just got to say that. The Lord will provide, the Lord will provide, the Lord will provide. Just be patient. Okay, because the Lord always provides. Verse 28, it says, as for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome. And that's what we're seeing. Faith is flourishing amongst those that have it, those that have the promise of the Spirit. Faith is flourishing amongst us. Okay, because we're seeing more and more of these things that the Lord said happen. In fact, he told his disciples that explicitly. He said, I'm telling you this before it happens, so that when it happens, it is going to increase your faith that much more. It says here, corruption shall be overcome, but the Lord has to, just as he did in ancient Egypt, he has to have corruption reach its zenith. It has to reach its epic. It has to reach its peak, and then it can be overcome. Okay, so at that point, there's nothing more. Corruption can't be like, oh, you beat me when I wasn't at my best. No, it has to be at the height of it. Then you completely crush it.
No, it's like I'm saying, scripture says, let favor be shown to the wicked. Or they could say, well, you didn't let me finish. Maybe I was going to change on this part. But then if you let them do all they could do when they have everything, then now they can't even say anything. When they go down, they will actually know their place, and they ain't going to try to go above. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's right. That's right. So it's just exactly like you said. And that's why the Lord did that, for example, with Pharaoh, right? He raised him up for the purpose, right, to one, show his power, magnify his power, and bring him down. Look, if somebody says, look, I'll let you charge up, I'll let you reach your max potential, and then they still whoop your ass, number one, you ain't going to do shit after that. But number two, it shows everybody else that this person is completely out of your league. Like, they let you get to your full power, and then they easily, just like that, The Lord is like, I'm going to destroy you in 1 hour, your kingdom in 1 hour. You much quicker than that. But I'm going to destroy your kingdom in 1 hour effortlessly, and I'll let you build up to it. So it says here, and the truth which have been so long without fruit shall be declared. And that's what we're seeing. Because for a very long time, this truth was hidden. It was a thing that was hidden, and it wasn't bearing fruit like it is now, right? And we are the fruit of this truth that's being pushed out. Okay, but the Lord said is going to be declared, and that's what's happening, right? We're making clear, we're publishing the truth that has been hidden for ages, and the Lord had Esau Edom play a big role in hiding this truth. Okay, but on top of information coming out, the Lord sent His Holy Spirit down, and that's something that no matter what you do or try to do, you cannot refute. When the wicked scribes and Pharisees tried to do that, what happened? The Lord sent an angel and went and delivered the apostles from prison and told them what? Go and start teaching. And they walked right out. Now, you think that they left the prisons unguarded? No, they had gates and bars, and they had guards in the cells. So how do you just walk amongst them and go back out and start teaching? That's why the Pharisees they were messed up in the head when they heard that. You know, you imagine you being a guard and having to come and tell the Pharisees that when they sent you in the morning to go get them, and you go there and there's nobody in the cells. Because remember, one, the shackles, they have keys. You need keys to unlock them, and you need keys to unlock the doors. So you are going into the cell and you're unlocking with keys, but you get into the center of it and there's nobody there. Now you got to go back and tell. So who's going to be the one to tell the high priest that we lost them? And you get there, you tell him, and you sound crazy saying it. Oh, well, we locked them up last night, but when we came, they weren't in there, but the doors were locked. Yeah, that sounds real believable.
Hey, but you know what's crazy? That's evident that these devils been always lying when it comes to things they can't refute when it comes to the spirit, right? Because even when Yahushua rose and the guards went back to tell the high priest and them that, yo, he gone. What did they say? They said, well, let's come up with a story. Let's just say that his apostles, disciples came and stole him from there. They stole his body because they're like, we can't allow the truth of how the spirit is working to overshine what we've been teaching, because then we lose our power, right? Because their power lies in secrecy and deception. So if it's a secret society, going into like you read in Second Esdras about corruption being overcome, it goes all throughout everything that we believed was all lies. That's all part of corruption, right? It tells you in the book of Revelation that the Lord is going to destroy them that destroy the earth. Okay, when you go into that word destroy, it means to corrupt morally, right? So it's the same thing. They've done it. They've corrupted the languages. They've corrupted the minds of the people, everything. As a matter of fact, I just want to look up the word corruption real quick in the online etymology dictionary. And it says corruption, it says of material things, especially dead bodies, right? Their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of that great city, right? It says act of becoming putrid, dissolution, decay, right? We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. That sore that she has is a putrefying sore, right? It gets worse and worse and worse, and the more it gets worse, the more she puts makeup on it to try to hide it, and then it's like it smells because she's rotten, but she's still alive, right? So you could smell the stink, but you can't see where the decay is coming from until the makeup is cleaned off, and you're like, oh, you've been hiding this whole time, like, oh man, that's America right now. She's filled with putrefying sores everywhere. Her lips is all fucked up. You go down there, you're like, hey, what the fuck? One titty fatter than the other. She just looks discombobulated, man, messed up, getting ready to eat missiles to be torched up out of there. That's America right now. That's why she would not be healed. What kind of doctor is going to take on this kind of mission? Like, I need to do some type of plastic surgery to bring her back to life. And it reminds me of this show. I believe it's on Netflix. If brothers haven't seen it, it's called The Beauty. All right. It came out, I think it only had 3 episodes, but it goes into how they use this weird technology to turn ugly people into beautiful people. But then it comes at a cost. I'm not going to spoil it, but could go check it out. But it's very interesting how Esau is actually doing these things and depicting it through Hollywood. You know, they're broadcasting, whatever. But anyway, going back to corruption, right? It says also the soul, right? Also the soul, morals, etc. Spiritual contamination. Okay? That's why we always say this, when you look at how people think in the West compared to how people think in the East, in terms of the concept of being spiritual, the West always downplays spirituality. They make it seem like it's something trivial. even if you may believe it, they don't believe it, so they make it seem like, oh, it's insignificant. Like we could treat it like anything else. Like the concept of God in the Bible, when you go to the East or when you go to different J countries, or even prior to America being what it is today, the Most High was reverenced. The Bible was taken very seriously. But because of Americans' influence and making things seem trivial when it comes to the Bible and religion and so on and so forth, it's made people think that, yeah, you could treat it trivial. Like, even our people, so-called Christians, they treat the Bible like it's a trivial thing. Like, I'll do how I want to do it. And then at the end, Jesus died for me, so I'll be good anyway. That's the mindset of a westernized American, man. Jake, that's westernized because they're spiritually corrupted. Okay? It says here, it says a spoiling, seducing, a corrupt condition. It says to destroy, to spoil, to seduce, to bribe. Okay, it says meaning putrid matter. All right, bribery or other depraving influence of language, perversion. Yeah. So even going to the concept of bribery, right? Seduction, corruption, all these different things. Look at AIPAC, right? How do they get their so-called politicians to fall in line? It's all through bribery. How did they get DJ Trump to go from MAGA to MIGA? It's all corruption and bribery behind closed doors. And now you're seeing all this Epstein files things popping up, and you're seeing all the corruption, all the bullshit, all in plain sight. Okay, but let's get this real quick. Going back to the point before you made, and I asked you double down on, in the sense of the Lord has allowed these devils to have a time of wickedness. All right, it's known as the common era. All right, they've done all kinds of debauchery. Okay, it's like the shit that's known, the shit that's unknown. You put it all together, you're gonna get this right here. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, and verse 6. It says, "For wickedness," right, going synonymous with corruption. "For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled." Okay, so their wickedness has gotten to a point the Lord allowed them. That's why it got so to the point where they believe that the Most High is not even looking. He's not even watching. Right? Oh, yeah, we could do whatever we want. He's not even watching. We're good. We've been doing wickedness for all this while against his people, and he ain't do nothing. So he ain't going to do nothing now. Right? And it's to the point where you got a nigga like Noah Harari, man. All right, who could pop up on the scene and say, oh, we're building AI to usurp the throne and the authority over the God of the Bible. There's like whole ass shit like this, man. There's like shit like this that infuriates you. But these niggas pop up on the scene and talk like this, and nothing is done to them. The Lord is the one who's saying back. He's watching all this. He put the spirit on them to say these things so that he could bring them down. Okay? All these things that they're doing, we're the only ones on the earth that seem to have a problem with it. That's a problem in and of itself, man. Okay? So it says what? Read that again. "For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled." So when they start coming into your homes, they start ripping babies out of their mother's wombs just like that. They start bashing your head in, all right, with the butt of a gun. All these things that they're going to be doing, the violent acts they're going to be doing, it's all because what? Wickedness has been fulfilled. It's reached its zenith, like Bakar said. Okay? So it ain't no other wickedness that anyone could think of that these niggas ain't going to overdo. Think about that. When they start rebelling against the Heavenly Father himself, that's all you need to know. You've reached a whole nother level of rebellion. All right? You talk about you going to usurp the authority over the God of the Bible. Who the fuck is you, man? Who the fuck is you? Nowhere around, we could snap your shit up in 2 seconds, bro. Let a brother jump on the stage right now. We'll show you what guy we talking about over here, man. Spiritually, with these hands, spiritually. You got it, bro.
Hey, I wanted to. Robbie Waller.
You ready to shred?
I wanted to the brother Rob mentioned something about they call it the common era, and it made me think of where the because that's the age of Esau, right? The age of the Gentiles. The scripture says that the Gentiles, the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And when you go into the book of Acts, right, the Lord gave Peter that vision, and he told him, "What? Don't call anything common or unclean, which he has called holy." So the Lord likens something being common as being something that is like unclean. So that's Esau's age, right? His time period is a common era because, I was trying to go into the definition of, well, the etymology of common. It says belonging to all, owned or used jointly, general or public nature or character. Common, general, free, opened, right? Open to the public. And what did the Lord say about through Ezra? The Lord said here in the book of Ezra, the 8th chapter, the first verse, it says, He answered me, saying, The Most High has made this world for many, but the world to come for few. So this world, this age, this era is open to the public, right? It's open to, everybody. That's why even though it's Esau's kingdom, these other nations got to live deliciously with Esau, right? The kings of the earth got to live deliciously with Esau, because it was open unto them to be able to, gain, some riches, gain, quote unquote, freedoms, right, for them to do whatever they wanted to do. But the world to come is all going to be under the hand of the Lord's right hand through Yahushua and the elect, right, setting up a righteous order. So it's not going to be a common era. It's going to be a era of Jacob, which will be not open to the public, right? It's going to be a certain. That's why it says in Revelation, the 2nd chapter, the rod of the iron is going to be put upon these nations. So it's not going to be something that everybody, right, or it's a belonging to all. Right, it's only going to belong to Jacob. And going back to something else Aharon made mention of, which Bakar made mention of as well, speaking about these devils, their God complex. I have a quote from Elon Musk, right? Because I seen this a while ago. So I couldn't find the actual article, but I put it in chat. So I said, did Elon Musk say something about wanting to know the truth, even if it means going into oblivion? And it says, yes, Elon Musk has expressed a sentiment about wanting to understand reality, even if the truth could be extreme or personally unsettling. It says, specifically in a post on X, he wrote, we cannot understand the true nature of the universe unless we question deeply. I want to know what is real, even if the answer is totally obliteration of my consciousness. And this is the mindset of this devil, right? Because he is challenging the Most High. When they say the universe, is speaking about the Most High, right? Speaking about the Creator. So him saying, I want to know what is real, even if the answer means the obliteration of my consciousness, that's them challenging the Most High. And through their technology, that's what they're doing, right? Because the answer of their idea of what AI is going to be able to do is to have the answer, answer to every single problem, have an answer to every single issue that comes up. So when you think about these devils, speaking about the elites in their mind, what they really want is to try to, as brothers may mention of Second Ezra, Psalm, the 2nd chapter, they're really trying to break the bands of the Most High and His anointed. Right, that's what they're trying to do, but they know that their brains can't come up with the idea, so they try to create something, an idol, a god that can come up with an idea, an infinite, infinite brain intelligence that can answer all questions. So reading on, it says, in other words, he is saying he prioritizes discovering what's real, even if the discovery could challenge or obliterate his own understanding of or self-existence. This is essentially a philosophical statement about deep inquiry and radical truth seeking. But the thing is, the truth is something that is based on faith. And that's what these devils lack. See, they're looking for actual evidence of what is real. But the evidence starts with the truth. It starts with faith. Hebrews 11th chapter. That faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And that's something that comes from the heavens. That's something that they can't grasp. So in their minds, oh, I want to actually go and look for it. I want the evidence of what's real. I don't want to just believe it. I want to actually see it. And that's why there always will be separate, because going back to what Esau did, he didn't actually believe in the promise, which is why he sold his birthright. He wanted the evidence. What good is the promise, or what good is my birthright if I'm going to die? There's no evidence that I'm actually going to receive this, but there's evidence that I can eat this food right now. So I'll sell you my birthright for this morsel of meat that is evidently in front of me. So he always lacked faith. He always lacked the thing that was needed in order to please the Most High. Even going back to Cain. So it's a repetitive cycle that Esau is in, but now the Lord has given him this this technology to where he thinks that he will be able to find the evidence of what is real. But what he's going to find out is what he's doing is leading him right into his obliteration. Is leading him right into the reality of what was always there. And because he lacked the ability, as brothers mentioned, let favor be shown to the wicked, but in the land, but he would not, he would not learn righteousness, because it says in the latter end of that verse, he will not behold the majesty of the Lord, right? He's not beholding the majesty of the Lord because it starts with faith. And if you don't have faith, you can never please the Most High, as it says in the book of Hebrews, the 11th chapter. So one more verse, precept. Wisdom of Solomon 2, start at verse 13, because what is happening is the fact that now the truth, as brothers mentioned, has been declared through the people of the Most High, which is all based off of our faith. Now, of course, there is physical and literal evidence that we have, but really it's all about faith, right? It's all about the faith that we have. The fact that we're saying that Yahweh Shai is going to come and deliver us. The fact that, brothers are so adamant about us becoming, gods and all these things. It's all based off of faith, right? We're not literally trying to create, technology, trying to create things that to change our bodies. We're saying the Lord's going to do that for us. See? And since this has become so prevalent, what has Esau done on the flip side? Revelation 12. He now knows he has but a short time. So he is on his side trying to become God. He's trying to make himself into a God, right? So verse 13 in Wisdom of Solomon, it says, the second chapter, they claim to know God and they call themselves the Lord's children. We can't stand the sight of people like that because they are contradicts Salakia. What they are, Salakia, more than that. We can't stand the sight of people like that. What they are contradicts our whole way of thinking, right? Because their whole way of thinking is we want evidence, right? We want to see what is real, even if it means our obliteration, right? It says they are not like other people. They have strange ways, which our ways is what? Faith. We just call and believe on Yahweh Bashim Shai, right? Follow the scriptures. That's our ways. These other heathens, they want to actually either create their own God, right? Which is why all of the gods of the heathens are idols, or make themselves gods, right? They don't acknowledge the power of the one true living God. It says they are, where were we? It says they think that our moral standards are so corrupt that everything we do should be avoided. Going back to Revelation, right? Destroy him, which destroyeth the earth. Their moral standard is legit it's adverse to what the Lord called good. That's why they have inorganic, right? What Yuval said, we create inorganic things. We create artificial things. The Lord is all about natural and real, but this devil is about fake and artificial. It says, they boast of having God as their father and believe that when all is said and done, only the righteous will be happy. But we'll see if that's true. And this is what this whole beast system, AI, all of that is all about. It's about seeing whether or not what we are saying is real, or what they're doing is going to be real. But what, as Elon Musk said, what they're doing is going to lead to their obliteration of their consciousness, aka their spirit is going to be taken off of the earth. You're literally leading to you not existing anymore. It says, let's see what will happen when it's time for them to die. If the righteous are really God's children, God will save them from their enemies. So let's put them to the test. And that's where we're at right now. That's why the scripture says, the hour of temptation really is being brought by the Heavenly Father through Esau, right? And he thinks that he is in control of this, putting us to the test to see whether or not we really are the Lord's children. And you're going to see what happens, right? And that's why we can speak boldly and confidently and tell you to do what you want to do, because you're going to see how the Lord works on our behalf, because it's always happened. And you're the last example of the power of the Lord.
Yeah,
in his wrath.
We're seeing it now. Haraj just posted something in here. It said explosions reported across Iran at least 7 cities: Tehran, Bandar, Abbas, Tabriz, Parand, Keshem, and then a few others. So the post was, I think, said 3 hours ago. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see as more information comes out. But so far, that looks like what's going on there. So we see in the works of the Lord. Just wanted to mention that in there as well. Yeah. So, like I said,
Well, I think that, but so like I think that might have been because I seen something earlier that said that there was a gas leak, but that was only in one city. I don't know these other cities. We got, we gonna have to go do some research on that.
Yeah, we're gonna look into that. Hey, but like you said, actually, as a matter of fact, let me get a quick precept, and that'll be it on me. You can Lowell and wrap it up. But since you mentioned that in your last statement, this is Psalms 119 and 126, and it reads, "It is time for thee, Yahweh, to work, for they have made void thy law." Right, and we often go into this precept here, but everything, remember, the Lord said in Habakkuk, "I will work a work in your days," right, which you will not believe even if it were told you, right? The Lord is about to work, and matter of fact, he's working a work that'll make the ears of anybody that hears it tingle, right? And the scriptures say that. Imagine that it's like news so shocking, so surprising that it makes your ears tingle, that you're just like, it's hard to even fathom, but you're being told these things. Right. Imagine something happening that you don't believe, even though somebody's telling you. Right. So as it says, I'm gonna read it one more time. "It is time for thee, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, to work, for they have made void thy law." And so the Lord is working right in the earth, all the things he said he would do. And they're only gonna get from this point on, it's the prophecies only stack up more and more and more and more and more. Like when you playing Uno, you have a +2, and then somebody throw a +4. And you thinking you about to throw your last +2, but the shit comes back and now you got to draw 16. Yeah, like that's how the Lord is stacking these prophecies. He's stacking these prophecies on here. Here it is. You got one more card about to say Uno, and now you got 16, 17 cards. So the Lord is stacking these prophecies from the things happening internally to ultimately the destruction. And people thinking that people think that a time of internal anarchy and martial law and that lockdown is unprecedented. And then they get hit with technology they haven't dealt with before, right? And then they think that's unprecedented. And then they get hit with a nuclear missile, right? Destroying a whole entire continent. And they think that's unprecedented. And then they see the Messiah come back with chariots and angels. And then they think that's unprecedented. Then they see people get beamed up and get changed into gods and then come down and subject the whole entire planet. And then they think that's unprecedented. And then they see a never-ending kingdom. So the Lord he just like those bar graphs or those graphs, they're just going up, up. But yeah, that's it from me. Prescott, any last things you want to add?
The new Star Wars movie, when they started shooting Luke Skywalker, they do is like, more, we shooting everything. He said, nah, just keep shooting. So it's like, that's just to drive your point,
Gone. Beautiful.
I had a precept. My fault.
Oh yeah, go ahead. You good.
Yeah, I had one last precept. Well, actually, we brought this out before, but if a brother can get, a matter of fact, yeah, I can't pull it up, but can the brother get Obadiah, the 16th verse, but in the NLT? And it sums up a lot of what was just being discussed by Akim. Obadiah 16 in the NLT.
God, I got it right here for you.
The water.
In the book of Obadiah, verse 16, it says in the NLT, it says, "Just as you swallowed up my people on my holy mountain, so you and the surrounding nations will swallow the punishment I pour out on you. Yes, all you nations will drink and stagger and disappear from history."
Yeah, that's it. So, the NLT hits hard on that one, man. And hey, they drank upon the Lord's holy mountain. They were able to nourish themselves. All right, just like it says in, I believe, the book of James, as in the day of slaughter. Okay. But yet now they're going to drink down judgment, fire and brimstone, a big giant goblet of it. You're going to drink it down. Okay. And it says that you're going to be erased from history, specifically in reference to Esau, Edom, and the rest of you heathen nations. your history is going to be irrelevant. You know, your history is only going to be tied to you being servants to us. Okay. So that's what you have to look forward to, because when the incorruptible light of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is being brought forth, you want to remain in darkness. You want the world to remain in darkness. It's not enough that you don't want to get into the light. You want the entire world to remain in darkness. And as it is written in Wisdom of Solomon, it mentions that the incorruptible light, you know, that the sons of the Most High were the ones that would bring forth the incorruptible light. That is why the Egyptians had to be punished, because you were seeking to stop that light, which is the knowledge and wisdom and understanding and the laws, from being brought forth. And ultimately, when we're in the kingdom, when we receive the new bodies, that is what will occur. So you're seeking to stop that from happening. All right. And the Lord is going to bring a very, very drastic judgment. So I'm gonna just read this. This will be it for me. Wisdom of Solomon 18:7. So of thy people was accepted both the salvation of the righteous and destruction of the enemies. For wherewith thou didst punish our adversaries, by the same thou didst glorify us, whom thou hast called. And that pretty much speaks for itself. All right. The same judgment that is going to be upon our enemies is our salvation. Okay. So when people ask, like, oh, y'all just want to see destruction and violence, and well, it says that that great city will be cast down with violence. That's what Yahweh Shai is coming back to do. Do you think that he's angry? People will say, well, y'all are always angry and da-da-da. Do you think that the Lord is happy right now with how the earth is being run? Do you think Yahweh Shai is looking down? Do you think Yahweh and Yahweh Shai are looking down at this earth and saying, yeah, this is great? No, they're fuming with anger beyond anything we can even comprehend. All right. And the Lord shows and vents his anger through us, and that's why it's being spoken of. Okay. But when the time comes, Yahweh Shai is going to return, and he's going to let that anger be known. All right. And that anger, that's why when we see, explosions popping up in these different cities, that would be a hell of a gas leak for 7 different cities to have a gas leak at the same time. But we're going to still monitor, because, you know, they be pulling some shit, and then there's a lot of misinformation. But that's looking like it could be something there. We're going to continue to monitor it. But at the end of the day, we enjoy and embrace these things which the world shuns and doesn't want to deal with, because we know that the destruction of this current world means our salvation. It's that simple. You know, it's not just destruction for the sake of destruction. It's destruction tied to our salvation. All right. So just want to bring that out. That's it for me.
I just wanted to add to this is my last one, add to the precept you just brought out. Here in Job 18, verse 14, it says, his confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle, and it shall bring him to the king of terrors. Right. In the NLT, it says, they are torn from the tents where they live secure and are dragged off to face King Death. So who is that? Yeah, and they got the king, capital, the K, and the D also capital. So who's that? That's Yahweh Shai. You see? So going back to what Elon Musk said, you know, he want to see what is real. Well, Yahweh Shai going to show you the evidence. You don't want to have the faith, so the Lord is going to present you in real time the evidence of what is real. But to you, what is that going to be? That's going to be death. The king of death is going to present himself to you. And for us, he's going to be the king of life. So, hey, that's what you get. But that's it for me.
That's it. You get what you get. You don't get upset. Cool. So with that, we're going in here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect, the Wadi Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, for sending us the Holy Spirit. And hey, as we continue to monitor these times, stay in the spirit, stay locked in, because really, you know, we can see the end, and we're pretty much right there. So in closing, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Racha Kodesh. And until next time, Shalom.